So my name is Samantha Scherner. I'm from Ridgeway High School, and I did my internship in Washington, D.C. at the Rodham Institute. All right, so basically what the Rodham Institute does is they promote health equity in the 8 wards of D.C. So D.C. is split up into 8 wards based on economic wealth. So the first ward is the wealthiest, and the 8th ward is the poorest. And my internship wasn't focused on one sort of thing. I did a bunch of different stuff. So the Rodham Institute is on the George Washington University campus, and they have a hospital on their campus because they have a medical school. So I spent a lot of time in the clinic, so the outpatient clinic where they see patients, a lot of patients with diabetes. They have pulmonary clinics. They have a sleep clinic, which I spent a day in, which was really cool. I learned about sleep habits, sleep apnea, people who have sleep paralysis. I also learned about the thing that the Rodham Institute focuses on the most, which are the social determinants of health, which are the things outside of your well-being that are like your education, where you live, how much money you make, and what you eat, versus like I fell and broke my knee. So the majority of the patients that the doctors see in Washington, D.C. are from wards 7 and 8 because they have the biggest populations. And they are the ones who need the most attention because they're low income, they're low graduation rates, and they are low, they don't really live in the best places. So if they're at 40%, 42% of kids don't graduate from Ward 7 and 8, which is a pretty high percentage of kids who don't graduate. And the percentage of if you graduate and then you can go on to have a way better job if you do graduate from high school. So the Rodham Institute tries to get kids to graduate or get their GED or get their nursing license. I went to a lot of different conferences that focused on the social determinants of health and how that affects like your whole health, so your holistic health. The Rodham Institute has this thing called the Health Education Leadership Program where they get inner city kids exposed to different health careers to try to get them into health professions. I was in the OR 2 different times to observe a bunch of different surgeries with an anesthesiologist, and this is a picture of me in the OR, the only picture that I have. So, yeah. So the big takeaways that I got, I learned a lot about the social determinants of health, which I didn't know before. I just thought that what was wrong with you was basically your anatomy and your physiology with your body. I didn't really know that it had to do with where you live, what you're eating, your graduation rates. I didn't know that if you were educated or not, it affected your health. I had never really seen social, medical, or economic inequity before because we're from small town Ridgeway where there's not a whole lot of that. So that was really eye-opening for me, and I got to see a lot of different stuff. There's this river in Washington, D.C. called the Anacostia River, and if you cross it, you're still in Washington, D.C., but it feels like you're in a completely different place because Capitol Hill's on one side and then Wards 7 and 8 are on the other, and it's a complete shift, and it's really crazy to see. I also got a lot of different career exposure. I went in wanting to be a surgeon, and now I have no idea. I don't know if I want to be a physical therapist or an anesthesiologist or a nurse practitioner. I have no idea, but I think that was one of the biggest parts of my internship. I also got a lot of college advice from a lot of different doctors. When I was following the doctors around in the clinic, I asked them a bunch of different questions about like what I should do for majors and what kind of stuff I should prep for college, and I learned a lot of different stuff that will help me out in the future. Okay, so outside my internship, I stayed with my aunt and uncle who live in Bethesda, Maryland, and we spent a lot of time together as a family. I hung out with my cousin who's like a couple years older than me. I went to a couple different protests, which was really cool. I memorized the metro system, which I am very proud of. I could take the metro, which is pretty cool. All the museums in Washington, D.C. are free through the Smithsonian Institute, so it was really cool. You could just go down and go to a museum for like an hour or 2. There's a lot of diversity and culture in D.C., which people might not normally expect, but there's a lot of that. I joined a workout class too. That was really fun. think the batteries are dead in this. Okay, sweet. So some advice for future Pinterns is to apply, but also to advocate for yourself. You're going to be around a bunch of different high-level people, and they're not always going to pay attention to you the entire time, but the important thing is to be like, hey, I'm here, this is what I want to learn, this is what I'm interested in, and then you can do the things that you want. Like, that's how I got to see a bunch of different surgeries. I was like, hey, I'm interested in surgery. Can we hook this up? Get out of your comfort zone. There were a lot of times where I was like, this is not normal, it's weird, I don't like it. But in the end, it turned out to be an amazing experience. Thank you to all of these people. Sweet. Yay.